So recently, I was contacted personally by someone who has spent many years with Lucy Letby. They attended the same high school together, shared the same classes, had the same friendship group, and would interact on a daily basis. Now, this video will hopefully give you a deeper insight and answer some of those intriguing questions. Who truly is Lucy Letby? We also touch upon some interesting topics during this discussion, such as Lucy Letby's early desire in becoming a nurse, and also Lucy Letby's discussion regarding her own traumatic birth. We also hear this individual's own opinion regarding the crimes which Lucy Letby has now been convicted of. So before we jump into this discussion, just a note on the following. This individual wishes to remain anonymous. I said very early on during our discussion that I would never release anything that hadn't had prior approval or prior authorization from them personally. It's really important for me, the integrity for not only myself but the channel in general, that people's confidentiality is respected. So this person, as I say, wishes to remain anonymous. I have, however, verified this person myself. So you can be sure that what you're about to hear next is coming from someone who was a former classmate of Lucy Letby. So how was Lucy in high school? Was she shy, quiet, reserved, or was she a bit more of a show-off, goofy, class clown type of individual? I wouldn't say that she was really shy or quiet, maybe a little socially awkward, goofy, but definitely a little reserved until you got to know her. She was quite self-assured, very confident around her friends or social group and in class. She did tend to act goofy and she liked to make people laugh. She wasn't a class clown or anything like that, more of a teacher's pet and a stickler for the rules. She was the type of person that wouldn't think twice before dobbing you into a teacher. Was Lucy at the centre of dramas? Did she create gossip, pit people against each other, or create divisions? I don't think I've ever experienced her do anything like that. I mean, yes, she liked to insert herself into drama to find out what was going on because she's nosy, but I've never experienced her start gossip or pit people against each other. But she did like to listen in and join in on any gossip that was going around. She liked a good gossip, as she would say. Did Lucy strike you as someone who would love to know what other people were doing, or a nosy person in general? Oh yeah, she was definitely a nosy person. She liked to know what was going on, even if it was none of her business. She did seem to like to insert herself into a situation or conversation and in a way turn it into something about her. For example, we'd be having a conversation about the summer holidays and she inserted herself into it saying, well, I did this, I went to blah blah blah, when no one had asked her, and she then became the focus of the conversation. She would do this kind of thing a lot. So in a class setting, was Lucy more attention-seeking, or would she hate to be the focus of attention? Not necessarily. More than anything, she was a bit of a know-it-all, like she had all the answers, and she would basically seek out praise and attention from the teacher. Whether you were inside or outside of class, if Lucy was around, you would just know it, or that was probably my perception, but she was hard to ignore. She never really blended into the background despite her appearance. She just had a presence, or rather, she made her presence be known. And if everyone was being noisy or being disruptive in class, she would tend to speak up and say something like, some of us are trying to work here, in a disapproving tone. Did she do really well in class or not stand out? She did do well in class. She was probably one of the top students thinking about it. She always did her homework on time, completed everything during class on time. She got good marks. She always did very well in lessons. This is probably why she was picked to be the head girl in our last year. She was the ideal student. So how did Lucy get picked to be head girl? Did students vote for her? I don't remember the process exactly, but at the end of every school year, one of the year 10s going into year 11 would be picked to be head boy or girl. I think it was down to the teachers. Basically, they'd want the head girl or boy to be the best representative of the students, so naturally Lucy was one of the best candidates, if not the best candidate, and to also set a good example for not just our year group, but the rest of the school. So what about the school itself in terms of the rules and the procedures? Did Lucy Letby tend to wear makeup or shoes or jewellery that wasn't allowed, or did she tend to follow the rules and the procedures? When it came to her uniform and her appearance, she always followed the rules with the dress code. She never wore makeup or jewellery, just a watch. Skirt was always knee length, shirt always tucked in and top button always done up, tie, etc. She was always very smartly dressed and followed the rules. Did Lucy ever discuss any kind of, crushes on boys or that typical sort of high school behaviour? Not that I can recall. I do remember her attitude towards boys in that regard was more of a, ugh, boys, childish, type of response. Like, how dare you even suggest such a thing? It felt very much like deflection. I don't think her parents ever approved of the idea of her having a boyfriend, and she didn't seem to approve of anyone else having boy crushes either. But she did have both male and female friends. Did you ever witness Lucy Letby display jealousy when in high school, or did she copy others who were more popular? Did she have a need to have what they had, that kind of behaviour? I don't remember if I ever saw her get jealous in the real sense of the word. The only thing I remember concerning jealousy was her saying she was jealous about the fact she wasn't particularly good at drawing. There were people in our class who were quite good, and she would make a passing remark like, "Oh, you're so good, I'm so jealous that you can draw so well, I wish I could do that." That's the extent of the jealousy when it came to her expressing anything like that. But she was a bit of a suck-up. I frequently witnessed her altering her views and opinions based on who was around or who she was trying to impress or befriend. So in high school, did Lucy act her age, or did she try to appear more or less mature than she was? I think, yeah, she wanted to be seen as more mature than the rest of the students in our year group. I can't say she was very successful at acting more mature than us, but she definitely came across as wanting to be seen that way. In high school, did Lucy ever complain, or was she angry, like, this is unfair, that person is a bully or mean? Did she call out things that she wasn't happy with? One time we were outside at lunch, talking in a group of several people, and Lucy made what was considered a flippant remark on a sensitive topic. She was so insensitive and out of touch that she was called out on it by everyone in the group, including some of her close friends who also ended up consoling her in the end. When she was told nicely by a number of people, including those close friends, that her comment was basically inappropriate and insensitive, she got extremely upset by this and burst into tears. She then tried to make out that we were attacking her and that she didn't mean what she had said in the way that she had said it. I'm not sure that this part isn't particularly clear in my mind, but I think she tried to lie initially and pretend that she didn't even say what she had said. She tried to make out that we were attacking her over a misunderstanding when all we did was say, hang on, that's not okay, you can't say things like that. At the end of the day, nobody was attacking her. We were just trying to point out that her comment wasn't acceptable. She wasn't being attacked. No one was shouting at her. No one was saying anything mean or nasty to her. We all tried to explain it to her why it wasn't okay. But she was so distraught by no one agreeing with her, she basically had a meltdown because of it. I do remember that she would always get very emotional at times, and I saw her cry quite a bit. There were a number of times I saw her crying in school. I don't remember specific reasons, but I don't remember seeing anyone else cry in high school as much as I'd seen her cry. She only ever seemed to get upset or emotional when something negative was aimed at her personally. Another time is when she came up to give a suggestion or advice to somebody and they basically told her to go away as they weren't interested in what she had to say. And her response was, I was only trying to help, as if she was offended that that person should have been grateful for her advice when they didn't ask for it in the first place. Bad on them, for not accepting her help. Then there was also a number of times where she would try and get out of things that she had said by lying and saying, oh no, I didn't say that. It was definitely a pattern of behaviour for her. She lied about things quite often when there was absolutely no need to. I mean, it was like she could not admit to doing or saying anything wrong, no matter how minor it was. There was a large majority of the time that I can remember where she did seem to be very kind, genuine and caring. But then there was also a lot of times I remember where she was not, where her sincerity came across as forced or disingenuous. And at times she didn't show empathy or seem to understand it, and she would have a blank expression, void of emotions. She wasn't the most honest person, but lied and manipulated. A lot of the time it was just little things that didn't really have any real significance, so it would just get dismissed as like, that's Lucy. It's just what she is, that's just what she's like, that type of thing. Was Lucy physically well at school, or did she seem to have any health problems? Not that I would have been aware of. She always had a very high attendance and she was hardly ever absent from school. Were you surprised Lucy went into nursing? Did nursing babies seem to fit who she was as a person, or would she maybe have wanted to be a doctor but wouldn't have got the grades? No, I wasn't surprised at all. In high school, she always said she wanted to do that kind of thing. She took science and childcare lessons for GCSE. I remember her carrying around one of those practice dummies, one of those electronic dolls that they had to practice on. The ones that record everything that you do with them or to them, every bump, every time they cry, when you feed them, and if you ignore them, etc. I remember it was around this time, beginning of year 10 I think, that she explained why she wanted to go into nursing, and it was because she wouldn't be here otherwise if it wasn't for the care she received at birth, and that she was a miracle child in the eyes of a parent and herself. I distinctly remember those words coming out of her mouth, miracle baby, miracle child, when she was telling everyone why she wanted to go into nursing and specifically care for sick babies. Having her parents drill that kind of thing into her from such a young age, I felt the same way about it then as I do now. Uncomfortable. So in high school, would you say Lucy Letby was annoying? Did you like her as a person? I don't think I would really call her annoying. For the most part, she was very easy to get along with. I didn't dislike her. She was a very nice person most of the time and we got along, but there were a few times where we would disagree on things. She was one of those people that really wanted to be friends with everyone and do nice things. She always was very kind to everyone unless you were not very nice to her. Then she would just sort of retort with sarcasm towards you and or ignore you, report you to a teacher or get upset and cry about it. Although she never came across as mean-spirited or anything like that towards anyone. One of the things that I didn't like about her was her attitude towards some subjects. Some of her opinions gave me a bad vibe and just didn't sit right with me. I can't recall what the subject of them were because it was such a long time ago, but I remember the feeling of like, yeah, I don't like your viewpoint on this thing, it's not right. So, before knowing about Lucy's arrest, did it seem she would be a nurse out of genuine vocation to help others, or do you think she did it to be recognised and praised as someone who was doing good? I do think it was more of the latter, rather than just doing it purely out of genuinely wanting to help others, although I'm sure that could have been a large part of it. She talked about her reasons a few times in school, but the way she talked about it in conversation and the way she was justifying why she wanted to be a nurse just felt like she was seeking praise and approval. Her friends obviously were all lovely, supportive people, just as she herself appeared to be. But normally when people who want to do something just out of genuine desire to do good, etc., they just do it. They don't go around shouting it from the rooftops and constantly telling people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that because of this, that and the other, praise me for it. Whereas she kind of did. She loved to be praised for doing good deeds and things, and she always wanted to be seen as this golden girl that could do no wrong. What did you think when you first saw her name and face in the newspaper when she was arrested? Honestly, I was shocked. My initial thought was, there's no way. It's got to be a mistake. Why would she do something like that? And you're right, in your videos, she comes across as an angel, the nicest person you could ever meet. Which is true, she always came across as the most helpful, kind and considerate person always wanting to help. Initially, I believed in the possibility that it could have been a conspiracy like people were saying, because obviously I didn't have a lot of the information to go on except for what was being said on the news about it, and I hadn't seen her in years. The more I thought about it though, and the more I recalled, I remembered that yes, she did appear that way on the outside. That was the Lucy she projected for everyone. She seemed to mask quite a lot. I recognised it because I used to do it to an extent just to get through the day, but it's exhausting to keep up. Unless you are the kind of person that thrives on lies and deceit, masking is impossible to keep up. And it seemed to me that the majority of the time, her willingness to help others and put them first as much as she did was part of that. I don't know if she felt she had to be nice all the time and accommodating to others because that was what was expected of her growing up or not, or if she really enjoyed it because of the praise she'd receive. But if the opportunity for her to be helpful or whatever was there, then she would be. One final question. Do you have any thoughts as to why she might have done this? Yeah, I do. I think she went into nursing with the thought that looking after sick babies was going to be far more challenging than it ended up being. I don't think she went into nursing with the intention to kill or cause harm. She just wanted the excitement that would come from life-saving situations like that of her birth. But she never got that because in reality, it's not going to be like that, not all the time, even on the wards with the sickest patients. I feel like the killing was just a natural result of her escalation from just wanting it to be more and more exciting or stimulating by saving these babies, and the praise and sympathy that came with it, to one of them then dying as a result of her actions. Once she had killed for the first time, she probably got even more of a rush out of it and then started doing it with that intent in mind. You don't ever really want to believe that someone you know personally would be capable of that, but then I don't think it's out of character for someone like her to do what she did.